What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today I have another comparison for you guys, and this time it is between the Adidas X CrazyFast Plus and the Nike Mercurial Vapor 15. Now I feel like these are the most popular speed boots out right now, and again it's always like Adidas versus Nike, which one should I get in terms of like speed boots. And these boots are kind of similar and they're kind of different. They're both like unique in their own way, so today I'm going to do my best to like share those differences and to help you decide which boot is the best for you. Alright, so we'll go right ahead and we'll start with the uppers. The uppers on these two boots are both pretty thin. I feel like the thinnest is the Adidas X CrazyFast. This for sure is like very thin. It's very like paper thin, but it's more on the plasticky side of things. And there's like no padding whatsoever with this boot. So if you guys do want like the most barefoot touch on the ball, this is like the boot for you. And the Vapor 15 is also a really thin upper, but it's not as thin as this one. It does have a little bit of like a mesh like lining, and it does add a little bit of thickness, but when I say a little bit, it's like very minimal. It's not like anything like that will feel like padded or like cushioned, or like it won't feel dampened at all. Like this boot still is very thin. And I will say that this upper does feel a bit more pliable than the Adidas X CrazyFast in my opinion. I actually do like the pliability of this boot. And I feel like something that is important to talk about is the amount of structure and like support the uppers will have and how different they are. So for me, the Vapor is a lot more structured than this one. As you guys can see, it does have like a cage like lining here. And for me, this just performs a bit better in terms of like lockdown and structure and like less rollover. And that's something that I really like about a boot. I just want to make sure like the lockdown and there's no rollover. And now this boot, because it is so thin, there is like a lining here and there's like a sway like cage, I guess. But compared to the Vapor, this boot does have a bit more like rollover and it's not as structured. But that's kind of what you expect from this boot. So if you guys are looking to get this boot, just know that it won't have like the best like lockdown and structure from like, for example, against like a Vapor, but it still is pretty good. I'm not saying that this boot is terrible in terms of performance, because that's not what I'm saying. It's that compared to the Vapor, this one does lack a bit more like structure and like lockdown. But again, if you guys don't really mind that, then obviously just go ahead and get this one. But if lockdown and structure is really important to you, I would just recommend going with the Vapor 15. Alright, so now in terms of the sole plate, the sole plates are kind of different. So I'll start off with the Vapor 15 just because I have talked about this boot a lot. On the Vapor 15, we do have the Air Zoom unit. And like I said before, if you guys seen my videos, the Air Zoom unit just feels like a pillow underfoot. And it just feels really like nice and cushioned. It feels like a running shoe. And you don't really get that like snapback sensation from like the Air Zoom like unit. Like you don't really get like a push off. It just feels nice and like cushioned. And this boot overall does have some like snappiness, but isn't really as snappy as the Adidas X. But the comfort that you get from this sole plate is really nice. The Adidas X, on the other hand, is a lot more stiffer, and you do get like a really good amount of snapback. Also, this like sole plate kind of keeps you on your toes a lot. So because there is like a curvature, if you guys can see, it kind of raises up. You are more on your toes. So if you guys really like that like snappy like responsive sole plate, then go with the Adidas X. If you guys do want to try something new and like a really unique sensation, like the Air Zoom like pocket here, and then I would just recommend going for the Vapor 15. Now in terms of the stud patterns, the Vapor 15 is a lot more aggressive. Like you guys can see that these are more like triangle studs, and for the Adidas X, they're more like chevron studs, but they are on the smaller side. But the Adidas X still provides a good amount of bite. But I feel like this one you're able just to move around a bit more just because the studs are a little bit smaller. Now in terms of sizing, they both run true to size. I have these in both size 9 US and they fit perfectly for me. So I would just recommend going true to size in both of them. And now in terms of the fit, this is kind of where it varies in my opinion. They both do have like a slimmer profile, but the Vapor 15, like I do have a bit of wider foot and I'm able to fit in these really comfortably. Like I feel like they have a bit more volume compared to previous Vapors. So I feel like some people with a bit of a wider foot are able to fit in these. But again, if you have an extremely wide foot, I wouldn't recommend these. The Adidas X, on the other hand, since it does have like a standard tongue construction, you're able to get a bit more like width from these. So if you do have a bit of a wider foot, you probably will fit into these. Like I do have a wider foot, like I said before, and I fit in these pretty comfortably. And I will say that the standard lacing construction did like help out in terms of the fit, just because this was able to open up a bit more, and then I was able to like pull the laces tight and get a good like nice wrap. And in terms of comfort, for me, I feel like I just prefer the shape of the Vapor 15, just because I feel like for the Adidas X, since the upper is kind of on the plasticky side, it kind of just looks weird, and it kind of I have like weird like creases on the boot, and it just opens up. But this one just feels a bit more like close to my foot, and it just feels like more like seamless, just because of that like one piece upper. So I do prefer the Vapor 15 in terms of the fit. Now, just small things that bothers me around the X is like the tongue. For me, like tongue is very thin, and it just I feel like I do get a lot of like lace biting when I do tie the laces super tight. So if you guys don't like that sensation, then I wouldn't really recommend these, just because this tongue is very thin, and like there's no padding to it whatsoever. And also for me, my boot, if you guys seen my review, the tongue did like rip off. Like if you guys see in the bottom here, it did like come off kind of, and it's still stitched like from halfway through. So just be careful of that in terms of durability. Like that could potentially happen to you. It didn't happen to my left boot, but it did happen to the right one. I'm not exactly sure why that happened. I'm guessing I just pulled the tongue too hard, and you kind of have to, because since the tongue is really like thin, it just bunges up. So you have to like pull it just to make sure it strains up. And in terms of the vapor, I didn't really find any issues with this boot. Nothing like bothered me. For the most part, it was really good. And now, which boot I would pick? For me, I would go with the Vapor 15, just because it is a bit more structured, and for me, it's a bit more of a solid boot than the Adidas X. The Adidas X is a fun boot to play in. It is lighter than the Vapor 15, although in hand it's kind of hard to tell. But like on the scale, the Adidas X is lighter. So if you guys want the lightest boot, it is this one. But for me, I just feel like it just lacked a little bit in performance. Like I did feel like I did have a little bit of rollover when I did make some cuts and turns. It's not a lot, but obviously with a thin upper, that's going to happen. So that's kind of what I expected when I did like get these boots in hand. But again, it's nothing like crazy that it would make the boot unwearable. Just for me and what I like just something that's a bit more like structured and has a bit more lockdown, and the Vapor 15 does that really well. So that's why I would pick the Vapor 15 over the Adidas X. But honestly, I don't mind wearing the Adidas X either. I just know that I'll have a little bit more of a like rollover in this boot. Yeah, but that's it for the comparison of this video. We did go over the upper, the fit, the sizing, the sole plate, the stud pattern. I think I did cover everything in this video. If there is something that I did not cover, you guys just want to know, just leave them in the comments. I usually read them and I will answer. But yeah, let me know in the comments which of these two boots you guys would pick. Again, make sure to like the video, make sure to subscribe. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.